Hi, welcome to Ajspeaks. I'm AJ. Um, Today I had to record my video a little later, so I have all my people here again, moving around. But I just want to say that I really appreciate you guys for stopping by, listening to me, share my testimony. Yesterday I left off, still in St. Louis, working in the salon, maybe about 2 years into my rebirth. The meditation process is very delivering for me because, as I practice over the years now, it's easier to stop and let any things that come upon me that hurt my feelings or that are binding, I can get to it faster. It don't take 15 years to be set free from pain. But as I was early on learning meditation, it allowed me to be able to share the things that I had been through without breaking down in tears. And I will cry. I might even cry today, when I revisit those places, but the tears are cleansing. They begin to be cleansing then, but before the meditation, when I would talk about it or share, it would be those hot, bitter tears. The pain would still be, so real and so heavy in my stomach. Please shut the door, Marshawn. I asked you that before I started. Everybody want to be in pictures, but, where am I? And I, just as I share my experiences, like I said, those tears are cleansing. They're freeing. They're delivering. And now I share when I do, have the opportunity to share the things that I go through. It's my heart's desire that the ones that I'm sharing it with would realize, that it could be beneficial to them, to take Jesus with you on a trip back down memory lane. Let's see. I don't know. Still reading. One of my favorite memories back then was, coming in the salon, and whoever got there first would turn on the radio. And so everybody would turn to, our hip hop station of their choice. And so I would work all day, and by then God had given me 1600, gospel radio. But, everybody, ain't there. And so I would have to work all day listening to hip hop. But on the mornings which are few and far in between, that I would get up early, have a client that would need me early in the morning, I would put it on 1600. And nobody would bother it, they appreciated it or, humored me. And so we'll go back and forth. Whoever got there first, put it on hip hop. If I got there, I put it on 1600. And it was never an argument. It was never, an issue. Nobody ever said anything to me about it. But shortly, I don't know the time frame, if it took a month, if it took a year, I don't know. But it wasn't very long that one day, I came into the salon and it was on 1600, and it might have been on 1600 from me being the last one the night before, But So that first day, thought it was a fluke, but thank you, God, get to listen to gospel while I, work. But then the next day, 1600. Until the day I left. I mean, a couple of years, 2 more years I had to be there. And, I was there in St. Louis for 2 more years afterwards. But every day, they would be playing Gospel 1600. And after a while, the shop would be packed with people waiting, and the customers start to say, I've been to a lot of places getting my hair done, and the atmosphere here is, I've never experienced it before, but, and I give all the glory and I give all the credit to the Lord, but, it's my testimony and it's what I've taken away from the experience, but, during that time, I would be styling hair and, like Bernie say, doing that talking, and, young girls sit down and I would talk to them and explain to them, how to accept the Lord, and they would in my chair. They would be saved in my chair, and I was able to lead my sister-in-law, my brother's lady, to Christ. And I don't know, those are fond memories, that's 12 years ago. Those are very fond memories for me. And I don't know, I haven't even shared, all the details about who I was before Christ. And it's just amazing. It's like, if you see somebody from my past and you tell them, AJ is on fire for the Lord, they, what in the world? They would be amazed, because like I said, these were my everyday people, and they know, they were at the beginning of me doing the things I do, in my mess and backstabbing things that I've done and backbiting things that I've done and all of that, so they would be amazed. And I don't know, I've always been one that, people could come to, and they would come to me for advice. And sometimes even, before Christ, giving advice, sometimes I would stop in mid, talking, and did that make sense? Because it was over my head sometimes. So I would just say, I'm going to leave that alone because, that's beyond me. And God said, his gifts are irrevocable. So, yeah, that's, it's just amazing. I need to take a deep breath because, like I said, I got a lot going on. Got all my people, so I feel like I'm rushing right now and trying to make it happen. But I need to relax and let the Lord reveal what He wants to be revealed. Oh yeah, during that time, even before, listening to the radio, I had a client that was the door. Marlon, the door. That was a regular client, and she was good to me. She come faithfully, sometimes twice a week, to get her hair done. Well, she had a little boy, and he could be rowdy. Well, the owner of the salon had asked her, not to bring him back to the salon unless he was going to get a haircut. And so this particular day that she came, to get her hair done. Her little boy had a half a day of school, which when we scheduled the appointment and everything, she'd forgotten. But her hair process was, took a lot of time. So we were halfway done, but she had to leave and go and get her son. And so I knew, that he wasn't supposed to come unless he was getting a haircut. But, Mom, my baby's getting out of school. I didn't expect for my hair not to be done, so I have to go and get my son. So I told her, go ahead and get her son and come back. I'll finish her hair. So, you gotta pardon me. Something going on with this video, very fuzzy. But, she came back and she brought her son and I finished her hair. And she said something to the tune of, sit down. She was correcting him to the best of her ability. Sit down because you're not going to get me in trouble, and you know how we can be hardy a little bit. And, to me, she was doing her best to control her child, so let me get her hair done so she can go. Well, when I got done with her hair, it was our thing to always go and get a mini pizza at Pizza Hut. So she went over, she, got mini pizzas, and me, her, and her little boy were sitting in the back of the break room, and we were eating. And so then the owner of the salon came back there and asked her, was he getting a haircut? And she told him no. And she, tried to explain to him, that she was getting her hair done, but she, he got out of school early. And he said, I don't care. I told you, not to bring him back in here unless he was getting a haircut, And she told him, I'm sorry, I didn't plan this. I forgot he had a half day, and her hair took longer than she thought. But he told her, basically, I don't care, and he was aggressive with her, and she, like I said, to the best of her ability, she tried to, not cause any problems, but he was unrelenting. And he told her, since she brought her son back, that he couldn't come back to the salon anymore. And so I didn't appreciate that. That I had to go back to work, and then she, after we got done eating, she left because he told her, she can't come back no more. She left. And so I'll go back up front and I'm doing my hair and I'm not appreciating it. When she gets in her car and then she remembers she forgot their coats. Marlon. So, she comes back through the salon, back up to the front to get her coat, and the shop is packed with people. And when she got her coat, we're all working over people's heads, and I don't remember what he said to her, but he said something else provoking to her. And so she, in her blackness, she provoked him, went back, off on him, but she was leaving, and I'm really not appreciating it because, my heart just is not professional, arguing back and forth with this shop full of people, and I don't handle my clients like that, and so I didn't appreciate it. And, by then I was still, I had my haughtiness too, so, but I didn't say anything. But what I did was got upset and was like, how you gonna send my money out the door and still expect booth rent from me when she was paying me more to do her hair than booth rent cost, So I said, I didn't want to work there anymore. So over that weekend, in the course of a couple of days, I went and shop hopping, found me another shop, let my clients know, those last few days, this is where I'm going to be. I'm not working here anymore, I didn't appreciate it. Well, Saturday was my last day, and my plan was, after that, after I did my last clients, I was going to pack up and I was going to move on and start the following Tuesday at the next shop. Well, I talked to my cousin, and she told me, did I think that maybe I was running away from the problem? Well, that had never occurred to me because, damn that, I don't need to be here. I can go do whatever I do someplace else because you didn't step on my toes, So after talking to her, and I prayed about it, and I said, well, my Bible taught me when people say things to you or accuse you, or call you things, don't be so quick to dismiss them, Could it be, could it be that I'm running away from this problem and not trying to, fight, or fight for my rights or speak up, So I went back that Tuesday or whichever day it was. And when I got to the salon, before I got to the salon, I prayed, Holy Spirit, meet me there, beat me to the shop because I'm out of there, but I'm going to get this, talking it out thing a try. So I went back, and the owner wasn't there. And so I sat there and I waited, and he had a client waiting on him, so I knew he was coming. So when he came in the door, because I had to go pick up a friend, so I didn't have a whole lot of time to wait. But when he got there, and I'm sitting on the edge of the seat because I'm ready to say, can I speak to you in the back? Well, when he came in and I got ready to open my mouth, I felt, the Lord saying, wait a minute, don't say anything. I want to show you something, So I didn't say anything. I just sat there. And he said, so I hear you don't like the way I handled things the other day, So in my mind, you're over a client yet again. And, I feel like this situation is not being handled professionally. So I said, well, can we, go to the back and talk? And he said, yeah, fine. And so we go to the back. And, and I had prayed, let the Lord speak through me. Handle this situation, because this is a new one for me. And so when we go back in the back and we sat down, he started off, the conversation with, I do believe that that's my name on the front of the, on the windows of the salon, and, if you don't like it, anything, basically, you can leave. And the old me, that's my cue to go, with some filth, floor and filth. Your shop, what you can do with it. But I opened my mouth. And my mouth said, I'm not going anywhere. But, my mouth went on after the initial shock of I'm not going anywhere. But I don't appreciate, the way you handled that. I do feel like that was very unprofessional, and I wish that you could rethink it. If you want to be upset with somebody, be upset with me, because the responsibility, of that lied with me, because I knew the rules.
That cake in there.
Hmm?
That cake thing in the freezer.
Okay. The responsibility lied with me. I knew she was going to go get her son, and it was for me to come to you and explain to you what was going on, but I didn't do that, so if you could please, just put your pride to the side and, don't make her not, be able to come back here. And he told me, you're right. And we'll handle any other situation like that. But she can't come back. And I told, I said, please, if you can just let your personal dislike for her, if you can let that go. And, because that's my money you sending out the door and you still expecting me to pay you. But he said no, and it ended with no, she can't come back. You're right. I didn't handle it right. And I'll, handle it better next time. But she just can't come back, And so I got up, and I left out of there. And I just had this big hunk of pride, choking me in my throat. Because those words that I spoke in that salon, that's not Angie. That ain't how she handled it. I was already willing to let him take his shop and put it where he thought best, but my mouth had said, I'm not going anywhere, and actually tried to work it out, and he wasn't having it, and so I left out of there. And when I hit, shut the door, then those tears and that lump in my throat, and it just hurt. And I was mad at God. How, I said, oh, God, you better show up in this salon, and you better show out. If I have to stay here and swallow my pride like that, that's not right. You better do something. You better let me know that this is you. You know what I'm saying? And I got out of there and I cried, and I drove all the way from Kirkwood to the city to pick my friend up. And when he got in the car, the only thing I could tell him was, if you ain't never had to swallow your pride, you better start doing it now. Because it's the hardest thing that you will ever have to do in your life. And I still got a lump in my throat right now. So if you ain't never had to swallow your pride, start now. You can't wait, but I would advise you, start swallowing it, start leveling it, because when that day come, oh my God, that's the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my life, because up until before Christ, when people hurt you and things hurt and you go through life and bumps and bruises, you get that stiff neck and that haughty look and that false sense of self-pride, and you think you okay. But when you start having to break down those walls and swallow that, oh my Lord, I was amazing. I didn't know nothing about that. You know what I'm saying? But that's when, after that conversation, with my client, about my client, is when I started to go in and just let the radio station, play gospel and, play hip hop and back and forth. And then eventually, the Lord showed up, and every day, Gospel 1600, and I don't know, I haven't set foot in there in a lot of years, but I don't know, and oh my God, that was huge for me. And just my experiences from then on, the Lord let me know that lives are being changed. Because, for me and my experience, for me being there, lives are being changed because of everybody. But like I said, it's my testimony, and I can only share, my experiences and the things that I've given God the glory for, for my time of being there. And, but yeah, even, the workers that were, they started getting more serious and focusing more, on God, and you know what I'm saying, being okay with their relationships and, with God, and they would share these things with me. So it's not just me saying or trying to take any credit away, but yeah, but pride, oh my God, it is It's a cancer.
Mom,
And
Mom,
yes.
I'm heading to get Ashley.
Okay. Coming back?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm taking him with me.
Okay. Excuse me. Thank you. But yeah. I don't know. God is just so good. And I mean, even during those times, I've never been perfect. I've never been completely sin free, you know. But I touch lives irregardless, you know, and I thank him, you know, for teaching me to swallow that pride, because that was my last, one real beauty salon, self-employed experience, you know. And wow, you know, this is a trip back down memory lane, so it's amazing thinking back to it now. You know. I remember one day, this was during reading with a little small group of us girls, just reading through the Bible. Well, one day leaving the salon, I had to go pick my son up. No, this was the salon before that. Before I started at this particular salon, I worked at one for about a year, you know, until I was able to get into this salon, because it was, for me, it was closer to where I lived. It was closer to my people, you know, that I grew up with and stuff. So, but in that earlier salon, I was leaving work one day, going to pick my son up from the bus stop. And I was driving up the street. And I was in the right-hand lane. It was 4 lanes, 2 lanes on each side. I was in the right-hand lane. And there were a few cars, maybe 3 cars ahead of me. And they were stopped at the red light. Well, the light turned green. And all the traffic in the left-hand lane had gone through the green light. And then 2 cars went, but the car in front of me wasn't going. It wasn't going fast enough, you know. And the old me, I would have jumped over in the lane and, you know, headed on up this clear lane, because my lane wasn't moving fast enough. And I had to go pick him, you know, my little 3rd grader up, and I got to get back to work. And so something, I always say it's something, but it was the Lord told me to wait, you know, don't jump over in that lane just yet, you know, but just wait. So I sat there, you know, and I'm aware of it, because it's odd. Like I said, it's traffic ain't moving, jump over and keep it moving. Well, then finally, after these 2 cars in front of me started to go across the intersection in the traffic that would be coming this way, well, there was a car in their left-hand lane that obviously that traffic wasn't moving fast enough for them. So when that left-hand lane of mine cleared, that car jumped over the yellow line and started heading down our, you know, towards me in my car. And as it got closer, he just ended up to where he was head on coming towards me. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking at this car, and he got close enough for me to look that driver in the eye, you know. And I just said, no, 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 no. And that guard just went over to the far other side of his traffic, and it spin around, and then he turned and he went back up the other way and just left, and if you're looking for rational thinking, there was no reason other than his impatience for him to jump over the yellow line and drive speeding like in a Camaro or a Trans Am or something, down the traffic in the wrong direction. But for me, it was, I didn't have any room in my imagination for a head-on collision because this little boy is at the bus stop needing me. In this neighborhood at that time, it wasn't a good neighborhood, so he can't be out stuck and me dead in a car accident, so no. And the car just went over. And so later on that night when we were at our Bible study and I shared the story and told everybody what happened, I was like, the Lord had, was telling me, be patient. He protects us from danger seen and unseen, because had I, in my impatience, jumped over in that left-hand lane, split second, head-on collision, but I was obedient to the unction of the Spirit telling me, wait, don't move. And I didn't move. I didn't inch forward, nothing. I'm just sitting here like, why would you tell me to be still? But I was, by the grace of God, obedient to not practice impatience and receive some patience, And so we finished that Bible study that night, and it was, I don't know, it probably was rainy. Well, then the next time we got together, one of the girls came to the Bible study and she said, when you shared that story, I was like, whatever, she didn't believe me. And so, but she said that night, when she left my house, the night that I told her the story, she said when she left and she got so far, the same exact thing happened to her in the truck, because in her mind leaving, she was like, that's a bunch of mess. She didn't believe it. And so the Lord showed her, because a truck came and did the same thing to her. And so she had, she came back and she's like, basically, I did not believe you, but when I left, the same thing happened. And so I don't know, I just share that because that's what came up in my heart, and that's just one of the, like I said, many, many blessings that the Lord has bestowed upon me. And like I said, she doubted it, and the Lord saw fit to reveal it to her that, He does protect us from danger seen and unseen, and I don't know. He's real. He is so real. And people wonder, question whether he does miracles and all those things. And a lot of things we get into, bumps and bruises and, bad situations. Sometimes we call it, following your first mind and all those things. But sometimes he's trying to protect us. But sometimes we know better, It, what they say, the disease, it's centers in our mind. It's our thoughts. It begins with our thoughts, And then we hear it and we reject it because we don't know that he still speaks today. And we don't know for sure that that's him speaking, because we think it's our imagination, or we'll shut it down. That's too good to be true. No, I'm not gonna listen to that. That's just my imagination. That's too good to be true. But I love the Old Testament, reading it, because it shows me God's character, how he is, who he is, what he does, Um, there's an instance where in the Bible where one of the guys had borrowed an axe head and he swung the axe and the axe head flew into the river. Well, Elijah was a prophet of God, and the man asked Elijah if could he help him because the axe head flew into the river and it was borrowed. So Elijah did, I want to say he threw a stick in there, but I don't want to get it for yourself. But the axe head floated to the top of the river. Axe head is made out of iron. Iron don't float, but because that man owed that axe head back to the one he borrowed it from. God took compassion on him and floated it so that he could get it back, And that story is, there's an accounting of that story because it's faith building. It lets me know the character of the God I serve, because just people will tell you God won't do that. God doesn't do that. I don't think so. I don't believe so. I'm not exempt from, struggling to believe, people's accounting of certain things. But as I read in those scriptures, he said it could happen, He said it would. So, but yeah, that's just another just proof, how I can talk about him all day, why I'm so in love with him, why I surf the scriptures, I, devour them, because God is amazing. And he's the same yesterday, today, and forever. He's never changing. He just went ahead and created this little bit of thing called time, because pride was found in Lucifer. He said, I will set my kingdom above yours. And so God said, all right then, kicked him out. Earth turned upside down, And even down here, this is his little kingdom trying to mock God, trying to set his kingdom above God, And I thank God that this ain't, his original plan. When God created paradise and when Adam and Eve got kicked out of paradise, nothing was there but the land. There were no houses, there were no jobs, there were no people. You know what I'm saying? So when I speak about boxes and things, anything, language, races, politics, none of it was here. Adam and Eve got kicked out, and now they got that I ain't God thing going on, and they got the deceiver who told them they was like God. That's why you get that haughty, proud spirit, because the enemy's in your ear and he's lying and telling you you're like God, do it your way, believe what you want to believe, reject everything, just that pride, it's the root of the enemy. And I'm grateful that God, he helped me swallow it, because it was big and it was hard and it was painful. It was painful. It was painful, man. But it was necessary, very, very necessary, because we can walk around, puffed up with pride and lean into our own understanding. But when we get home and nobody's looking, and we suffer in silence, and then we blame God, where were you? What are you going to do? Why ain't this? I knew you, doubting that he's a good God because he's not doing it our way, you know. But his eyes roam to and fro, looking for somebody to bless, looking for somebody to pay him attention, looking for somebody to give him credit, you know, where credit is due. You know, all he wants is, you know, he don't want to see us going through this. This was not his plan. But what the enemy meant for bad, he uses it. He uses it for good, you know, all the time. All the time. So, that's it. If you haven't ever swallowed your pride, start now before you face another moment of the day. Because pride wants to lead us astray. And God is patient and he's waiting, you know, to help you. He will show you how, you know. In and of our own strength, we can't do it, you know. And if we don't let God, we won't do it, you know, because we think that it's about us. But it's a spiritual battle. You know, we get bumped inside the head because we're always in the spirit's business, you know. The devil trying to fight with God and his, you know, spiritual beings. But we think it's us, you know, and the devil puts you up in his way. Ain't no devil. You did that. You know, it's all about you. But no, duck down and let those heavenly angels get him, you know. Ask God to help you. You know, let that pride go. It's not good. It's not good for you. It seeks to destroy you. It seeks to block your blessings. It seeks to lead you out further into the wilderness, you know. God came, you know, Jesus came to set the captives free. Be free. I'm going to let it go at that because the peace I'm feeling right now, I'm going to move around the house and share that with my little people, you know. And as usual, thanks for stopping by. You know, I'm humbled beyond measure that you guys are listening, that you take the time out to see what God does for me, you know, and be encouraged that he'll do the same for you that he does for me, you know. I don't know. Thank you. I'm AJ. AJ Speaks. Have a good night. God bless you.